Welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. I'm in a little bit different. Well, the camera's a little bit different because I've got my phone today, so I apologize for any audio issues along the way. But the show must go on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Amin the Dream. A pleasure to have you back on. You were on about right before the season started. I believe it was the Saturday before. No, it was a week before the season started. So it's been a little while. But how are you doing today? Excited to talk for Niners football, which there is a lot of football to talk today. So
I'm doing great. I know both of us are in high school, so obviously high school, a lot of
yeah.
homework, a lot of tests, a lot of assignments. High school is something else, but a pleasure to be on with you. I had you on as well before the season started. A couple of days
Yeah.
before the season started, we had that. My MVP predictions were Justin Herbert, which was not. He hasn't been bad, but I feel like literally right after that stream that we did together, I thought about Josh Allen and I was like, why didn't I say Josh Allen? And then Josh Allen goes out and I think there's a stat about Josh Allen where he scored all the Bills touchdowns, passing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that one didn't age too well. At least so far it hasn't aged well, but should have gone with Josh Allen there. But excited to be on with you.
Yeah. I apologize once again to everyone for I was late because my computer, there were some technical issues. So, but we'll get right into it. Injuries for the 49ers. Moseley is out. And I mean, this is a pretty big loss for them, but I mean, he's out with an ACL tear for the season. So not only is it bad for the 49ers, I also really, I mean, it sucks for him as well because that's a hard injury to come back from. Even when you do come back from it, there's always that thought in your brain, like, oh, don't tear this again, don't tear it again. And that's a mental block to get over as well. So we wish him the best. But what do you think Verrett will be ready at all this season? Because again, he's coming back from his third major injury. And who do you think is his replacement? Is anybody ready to take his place, Mosley's place?
I think Verrett, to answer your first question, I think Verrett will
Yeah.
be back. I don't know how soon that will be. There were videos that were coming out about Verrett running pregame and that he was grabbing his knee. He's trying to work himself back slowly, slowly. I don't think he'll be ready to go for another week or two at least. And that's the thing that sucks about this Moseley injury is that with Moseley being healthy, you had your two guys that were really dominating and that were your lockdown corners, actually literally locked down this whole season, that have been just phenomenal. And with Brett coming back, you didn't have to rush him back before, right? It wasn't as
Mhm.
much of priority to get him back on the field because Verrett was coming off the ACL and Moseley was playing at such a high level, and same thing with Charvarius Ward, that it wasn't such a priority that, oh, he has to be back. They could have eased him into it. But now with Moseley being out, there's more pressure on him, being the cornerback too, getting on the field, being able to stay healthy. There's more pressure on Jason Verrett. And I don't think the Niners will play him for the next couple of weeks. I think they'll give him, his time to let his body recover and get back into game shape. And the guys that I think will replace him, I think Samuel Womack probably has a good chance of being the
Yeah.
starter on Sunday. But the Niners have options. In general, the Niners have options because comparatively to last year, this year the Niners have Samuel Womack, they have Ambry Thomas, they have Deontay Lenore. They have options. Last year, they brought in Josh Norman, Dre Kirkpatrick. That's how depleted they were at the cornerback position, and they didn't have necessarily a cornerback one. And Brett was their cornerback one last year, and he got hurt. And this year, Brett isn't the cornerback one; he was the cornerback
Yeah.
three with Moseley being healthy. But the Niners definitely have more options, which definitely helps the 49ers team out. And I really do feel bad for Moseley because Moseley was playing at such a high level this year. And he was potentially, going to get his bag this year from another team because of how well he was playing so far. But it honestly sucks for Moseley. But I'm glad the Niners definitely have more options compared to last year. They have more options of guys that they can, replace him. Not necessarily replace the same productivity, but have guys that can come in and fill in that spot.
I'm not confident. I mean, with Verrett, I'm not confident that he can that he can step in. Again, like this is now what his third major injury, like I said before, and it's just that's tough to come back from your third major injury. It's gonna take a while. The ACL, I mean, I don't know. That's tough for Verrett, and I mean, I think they're going to be able to disguise it with a lot of a lot. I think they're going to play a lot more zone, which sucks to me because it's like if you're playing a lot more zone against teams like the Chiefs, they know how to game plan against that type of stuff, and against mobile quarterbacks, zone really gets exposed, and so that's where like in the future, and we're going to talk about this later with the offense, like can they keep up with more high scoring teams, but it's the same with the defense. If you switch to more of a zone look, then how are you going to account for guys that will get out of the pocket and buy time? And again, I have so much faith in Charvarius Ward, but this could mean so many things. It could mean you don't trust your secondary as much, so you send more blitzes. And it could mean you're playing a lot more zone like you were doing in 2019, and that sucks as well. So definitely a big blow. I do think we can replace him. There is a lot more depth, and we can disguise it a lot more, but I'm not really confident Verrett can come back right away. I think I would give him another few weeks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they need to give him a couple of more few. I think they need to give him a couple of weeks. And that's like I said, that's what sucks about this Moseley injury is that he was playing at a really high level, but now it's much more of a priority to get Jason Verrett back on the field because now you need him, right? Before Jason Verrett was a luxury, and now he's a necessity. Like now you need him to be back on that football field
Yeah.
because of that Moseley injury. So before he was a luxury, and now he's a necessity, and that's what really sucks about this Moseley injury because now there's more of a there's more urgency and there's more of a rush to get him back on the field.
Yeah. Real quick before we leave this, Ambry Thomas or Samuel Womack, when it comes down to it, who do you think they choose? I'm gonna say Thomas. I think he has more experience, maybe. I mean, who knows? He was bad in training camp his rookie year as well, and then he came in and had some decent games. So I don't
All right,
know.
who do I think the 49ers will choose? I think they might be leaning toward Ambry. Who would I choose personally? I would choose Womack. I think Ambry, he came in last year when the Niners had injuries just like this season, and he came in and he was okay, but there were some times where he got not necessarily beat, but there were some times where he wasn't always the best at positioning himself when the ball was up in the air. I would go Womack. I would. I think the Niners are probably going to
Yeah.
lean towards Ambry. But that's the thing. Like, going back to last year, certain times in certain games, teams would target Ambry Thomas because they know, like, we have out of all these guys, we had the best shot at going after Ambry. So, like, teams last year started to target Ambry. So if Ambry struggles early on and teams start to just target him and start to try to throw the ball his way, like number one, that does something to your confidence as a young cornerback,
Yeah.
but then it also hurts your team because if Ambry's allowing touchdowns or he's giving up big plays, like that obviously hurts your team. So we'll see. We'll see who they decide. I would personally go Womack. That's just me. And then if he struggles, I would bring in Ambry. But I think they might be leaning towards Ambry because of the experience and because of last year when they needed him. He was ready to go. Womack is still an unknown. We've seen him in the preseason for a couple of games, but Ambry Thomas, they know somewhat of what Ambry Thomas is, but they don't really know what Womack truly is. So I think they might be leaning towards Ambry.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. We'll see, man. We'll see. All you have to be in this system is a decent corner. So if that's all they ask, hopefully one of those guys can step up. But let's get to the next injury, Nick Bosa, and this is one that I don't think yeah, is as serious. But it could become serious if you don't take this right. He has a groin injury. If it is worse than we expect, because there hasn't really been a set date on when he will return, and he even could return this week. But should they rush him back? If it is worse than we expect, if it is more than just a 2 week injury, should they rush him back against the Chiefs?
No, they shouldn't. Okay, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It depends on how bad the injury is, because if the injury is really bad, and they're trying to rush him back and he's not ready to go and they're rushing him back, I wouldn't play him against the Chiefs either. But
Right.
my ideal way that I would handle this Bosa situation, if it isn't too serious, is that I would rest him in the Falcons game. Even if he was like at 80%, I would rest him in the Atlanta game because I don't really think you need Nick Bosa to beat the Falcons. Now, are the Falcons a better football team? Are the Falcons a better football team than a lot of people think? Yeah, I think so. They've been really competitive in a lot of games this year, but I don't really think you need Nick Bosa to beat the Falcons. So even if he's at 80% or whatever it might be, I think you should automatically just rest him and not let
Yeah.
him go against the Falcons. That way, when you go up against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs with a high powered offense, that game you need him, right? So if he's not able, if he that game you really need him. So rest him this week in Atlanta, and then play him in that Kansas City game. If he's not able to go both weeks, then I think you don't risk that. You don't risk him in that Kansas City game if he's not able to go when you're just trying to rush him back. I wouldn't rush him back in the Kansas City game either because I'd rather have Nick Bosa for the rest of the season or for the playoffs than have him play in that Kansas City game and hurt his groin even more and be out and miss like 5-6 weeks or injure it worse. So if he's able to go, not in the Atlanta game. Atlanta, I think either way is out. But if he's able to go in that Chiefs game and he's feeling great and he's at 100% or 95%, I would play him in that Kansas City game. But if he's not ready to go and you're rushing him back, I wouldn't play him in that Kansas City game either because Nick Bosa is really valuable to this team. And it's more, I personally think it's more important to have a guy like Nick Bosa in the playoffs when it really, really matters than having him against the Kansas City Chiefs, even though it still is important having him against this Kansas City Chiefs team and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, it's funny because this is almost like a preview to the Kansas City Chiefs game, which is amazing because that is going to be such a such a prove it game for the 49ers. First big offense that they face. I think the first good quarterback that they face. And a team in the Chiefs that I don't want to go off on a rabbit trail, but a team in the Chiefs that is really clicking. Like the Rams, I think at the time that we played them, they were not. I don't really think they were like. I think we thought they were good, but they really weren't. Like I think they had just played a few easy teams, and they were the biggest outlier at that time. So that's going to be. I mean, that Chiefs team is really clicking. You talk about the offensive line, and this is why I think they should rush him back for that Chiefs game. Definitely rest him against the Falcons. That Falcons offensive line is terrible. It's a few games this season has given up a 41% or 40%, over 40% pressure rate whenever Mariota drops back, which is absolutely terrible. And so I think, but the Chiefs' offensive line is really good, and you need to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes quickly, especially with no Moseley. The secondary might not be able to hold up as well, so you need to get pressure on Mahomes quickly. And I think the 49ers would lean more towards we need to bring him back fast. And it's just because their offensive line, the Chiefs offensive line, like I just said, is really good. Orlando Brown, the only weak link is that right tackle, which his name is let's see, Andrew Wiley. So there's a few things. He's a rookie as well, so I think they should bring him back just because that Chiefs team is clicking, and that offensive line is top 5 for the Chiefs, except from last week. They did do pretty bad last week, but
Yeah, obviously that's another topic, but we'll see, man. This Kansas City game, like you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and this team that'll be an interesting game.
yeah, for sure. But let's get to topic number 3, though. Well, let's get into the little bit of the comments. Grand Eyes are coming in here. Thank you for coming in. Amin is at the office late night. Yes, definitely. Great green screen work, by the way, because it is really good. So great there. And then are we going to do a rapid fire of who wins their respective games of all the teams playing this weekend? No, because I'm probably going to do that tomorrow with my brother. And quick announcement for that. I'm not going to be doing a Saturday show this week. I'll probably be doing tomorrow a show with my brother. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's get to the third topic. Let's see. How much stock do you put into this Jimmy Garoppolo, these last 2 games? I mean, He's done good, but what is your honest assessment of him last game? How much stock do you put into it the last two games, considering that, I don't know, the Rams were supposed to be a hard matchup, but maybe not anymore, and then the Panthers defense is not very good. So how much stock?
He's been good, and I'll give him credit for that, right? He's been good, and he hasn't had it turnover, and he's done what we need him to do, which is be a good game manager, not throw interceptions, and just do your job. Be a good game manager, Jimmy. Don't put the ball in harm's way, and just do your job. Play smart, be conservative, and don't make crucial mistakes in crucial parts of the game. And he did that the last 2 weeks. And I'll give him credit for that, right? I'm not gonna diss him. I'll give him credit for that. But to be fair, the Panthers, like you said, they ain't the greatest. They just fired their head coach. They're still rebuilding. And then the same thing with like the Rams. The Rams, we've done what we've done to the Rams the last couple of seasons, right? We've seen it before. We
Yeah,
can beat the Rams, especially in the regular season. Like it's Kyle Shanahan has McVay's number. We've seen it before. So was it really a surprise that what he did against the Rams? No, because I've seen it before from Jimmy Garoppolo. Is it really a surprise what he did against Carolina? Not. Like I said, I think he deserves props for what he did in Carolina. But Carolina is still a rebuilding team. They're still going through their ups and downs and different things like that.
right.
So I give Jimmy credit, but am I like super impressed? Like, oh, Jimmy, wow. Like, no, because like like I said, the Rams we've seen it before, and then Carolina isn't that great of a team. Like they're still they
Right.
have talented players, but they ain't that great of a team. And they also had some injuries on Sunday. The real question for me, like the real test of like, all right,
Right.
Jimmy, is like the games that coming up 2 weeks from now, like Kansas City.
Yeah.
Teams where you'll face these caliber teams if you hypothetically make it to the Super Bowl or if you're in the playoffs. Like those are the games where I'll be like, Jimmy, let's see what you can do. Can you play mistake-free football? Can you make good decisions? Can the offense be productive while you're under center? Those are the games where I'll take a lot of stock and be like, all right, here's what Jimmy Garoppolo can do, and here's what Jimmy Garoppolo can't do. Here's Jimmy's mistakes in those particular games. Those are the games where I'll really take stock in. Chiefs game, Chargers game, Bucks game, because those are the games where those are great defenses, and those teams, if you either make it to the Super Bowl or if you're in the playoffs, those are the playoff teams that you'll be facing. So those are really that's in those games I'll be taking a lot of stock in Jimmy Garoppolo's performance. But like I said, I'll still give Jimmy credit. I think he's done really well the last 2 weeks. There's fans that are saying he hasn't, which he has, and I will give him credit. But I don't really buy too much stock of like, oh, Jimmy G, a brand new player.
Yeah.
Jimmy G's changed. Like, no, he's had 2 good weeks against one team that just fired their head coach and that's going through a bunch of ups and downs, and then the Rams, which you've seen it before. So the real test for me is against like the teams that I mentioned. So that's the real test, and those are the performances where if Jimmy has good performances, those are the games where I'll really be watching closely and I'll be taking a lot of stock in based off Jimmy Garoppolo's performance.
Yeah, that's true. And I think with the Rams, he's seen them before, but another reason why is like last year, there's Aaron Donald on that team, but one man is not enough to wreck a team. And I think last year, what made the Rams so potent, and obviously everyone knows this, is Von Miller. I mean, you see what he's doing in Buffalo. That's what made them so potent. And you really don't have another elite edge rusher inside. Outside for the Rams. So their pass rush hasn't done very good. Excuse me. Hold on. So their pass rush hasn't done very good, and I think. I mean, let me get my train of thought.
Rams pass rush haven't been good.
Yeah, they haven't been good this year, so you can't really put that much into that. And then the Panthers, like you said, going through a coaching loss there. There was a lot of pressure on that, and it's not like he was mistake free these last two games. There was a play I think earlier on in the game against the Panthers where he didn't exactly read exactly what was going on in the middle of the field. He threw it and it was almost picked off by JC Horn. So, and like the last two games especially have been two almost like there's been some mistakes that just haven't been capitalized off of through on for the defenses. So not exactly, I would say, mistake free, and there still is a lot to prove for Jimmy Garoppolo. But again, the Rams again are giving up. Like they gave up 20 points to the Cowboys last game. Cooper Rush only had to throw it 16 times, and Tony Pollard averaged 10 yards per carry off of like 8 carries. So I don't know. The last two games, I guess, yeah, it definitely big outliers, I think, for me.
Yeah, man, that Rams team. The real issue with that Rams team is obviously the loss of Von Miller. It hurts, but that offensive line is just depleted with injuries. Like Matthew Stafford's getting pressured numerous times, and I mean, I'm happy at the end of the day because obviously the Rams are losing football games and the Niners are winning football games. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like I'm happy with it, but the Rams, like they're definitely struggling with injuries on that offensive line, and Matthew Stafford really doesn't have that much time to get the football out.
Yep, good point there. So let's get to the fourth topic. Let's get to some comments first. Ben's camera, he is close up now. Yeah, I have to switch it again because my tripod stand kept falling over. And this is going to be such a fun stream because I'm going to have to figure it out. But speaking of the Panthers with a potential fire, with a potential fire sale happening with the Panthers, which players from their team should the 49ers realistically try to trade for? That is a good point. A lot of rumors that the Christian McCaffrey's on the market. So yeah, maybe that could be interesting. Panthers only have 4 picks in 2023. Yes, I did hear about that. Ben is such a kidder. Yeah. But anyways, let's get to the next topic. What were some questions that Kyle Shanahan answered in this game or against the Panthers, and what were some questions that still need to be answered against the Panthers?
I mean, the run game, right? Like the run game definitely was better against the Panthers, but the Panthers aren't really great at defending the run. But I don't really know what questions Kyle Shanahan answered against the Panthers. The Panthers are going through their own struggles, like I said, right? Like they're going through their own struggles. And like the Rams game really didn't teach me much because he's done it against the Rams 7 times in a row in the regular season. So he hasn't really like answered any questions for me personally or shown me nothing where I'm like, all right, I learned something about you, Kyle, or I see something about you, Kyle. Like I said, same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo, but the games where I still have question marks is against those elite high powered offenses. Is that Kyle, can you as a play caller and can you offensively, number one, scheme up a game plan for Jimmy Garoppolo where he's successful in the situations, and can your offense go out and execute that against high powered offenses?
Right.
Because no matter how great this defense is, we saw it in that Sunday night game. The defense could be great all game. But if the offense struggles and they can't put up points and they're not efficient and they're not sustaining long, successful drives where they're putting up points, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because if you're not, the defense could allow 7 points, 10 points, but if the offense is not scoring and we're struggling offensively, we lost that Broncos game. So my real question for Shanahan is offensively, when you go up against the Kansas City Chiefs of the world, when you go up against the Chargers, when you play the high-powered offenses, can you as a play caller have a good enough game and can the offense execute to a to a level where you can win those games? Because the defense, they'll try their best. And the defense, it definitely helps to have a great defense, but it's hard to, limit those elite offenses or top 5 offenses to a certain amount of points because those offenses are hard to stop and they'll put up points. Like Kansas City's coming down in Santa Clara. Kansas City's at least putting up 20 points. Like at least. And I think a lot of people in that chat that watch Niner football, they know Kansas City coming down here and they're putting up points. It's gonna be a dogfight. But offensively, Kyle is a play caller, and offensively, the players in Jimmy Garoppolo, can they execute? Can Kyle Shanahan have a good game plan? There's a lot of what ifs and question marks on this offense. So we'll see. But Kyle really didn't answer any questions for me by beating a Panthers team which they were favored to win, which they blew out and they should have blown out in the first place. and then against the Rams, who we've seen him do it before 7 times in a row now in the regular season. So he didn't really answer too many questions for me. And like I said, the real test is when you go up against some of the better NFL teams in the league.
Yeah, I think one question that I do have is that, and this is kind of like not, I guess this isn't like a game planning question, but it is when you're up in the fourth quarter by multiple touchdowns. This is a question for me. Will he be able, or will he adjust to maybe I should take my players out? Like that final drive. Why did those starting, like, I don't care if you're not the defensive coordinator. I don't care if D'Amico Ryans is in charge of that. In that last drive, why did those players have to be out there? I don't know. So to prevent injury, I do want to see that. Like I want him to see, like I want to see him call off his players, and especially the key players that need rest. And that big Emmanuel Moseley injury could have been avoided. But I think he did get George Kittle involved early, which was important. And that's something that I guess I had a little bit of a question with. But again, this isn't a great Panthers defense. And then I think, I think he spread the ball around a lot more, and he showed that he was able to adjust without Deebo Samuel as much in that game, because Deebo Samuel for a good part of that game was getting covered by J.C. Horn before he went out. So, like even though it was a bad team, he has showed against bad teams, especially last year. If he doesn't have Deebo Samuel, it can get exposed, and then his offense is very one-dimensional, even against bad teams. So he showed that he can spread the ball around, which I think was a little bit of an encouragement.
Yeah, Kittle got the ball, which I was happy with. He obviously had that fumble where it's obviously unusual seeing George Kittle fumble the football, but it was definitely nice to see Kittle being more involved in catching more passes in this offense.
Yeah, for sure. This is terrible. Anyways, Lamb's ownership totally. That, and I'm like, again, real quick with the Rams, that me and my brother tomorrow are gonna discuss on further depth on the Rams, because it's falling apart. And I'm starting to lose. I'm starting to think that they're not going to make the playoffs. Hitting the like button to show support, as
Appreciate
always.
that,
Thank
grandizer.
you. But yeah, so let's move on. What is your honest assessment of the offensive line, man, without Trent Williams? They've been doing okay, but what did you see in that last game? What has your honest assessment been with like these last 2 games without Trent? Or I think it's been 3 now. So
It's been surprisingly better than I expected the offensive line to be. With losing
yeah.
Trent Williams, obviously that was a tough loss for the 49ers. He's the best offensive lineman in football. When you lose a guy like that, there's obviously some question marks, right? Like, what's this offensive line going to be like? But this offensive line has held up pretty well. They didn't allow a sack the whole game against the Rams. Now, obviously they weren't perfect in that Carolina game, but overall, this offensive line has definitely been better than I expected, and I think they deserve credit for that. And I think
Mhm.
this offensive line has definitely exceeded my expectations, especially without Trent Williams. So I think the offensive line has been doing particularly well, especially with the loss of Trent Williams. I think they've been doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think they they were good, and they haven't really allowed too many sacks, but I think some of that is a testament to Jimmy Garoppolo really hasn't been holding the ball as long. And even though that's against a little worse defenses, that's pretty good. He also has been doing a very good job at, I think, avoiding the pressure, which is going to be really key. But with especially last week, there were times when he just step up in the pocket, and there were a few times where he'd step up in the pocket and deliver a dart over the middle. But there were also times when Jalen Moore getting beat by Brian Burns. I go back particularly to the long throw down the sideline, Tevin Coleman. That beautiful catch by Tevin Coleman where Jimmy Garoppolo throws up a 50-50 ball. But on that play, you see Jalen Moore completely getting beat by Brian Burns. And one guy up the middle. Like two guys were both after Jimmy Garoppolo, and he had to throw it on his back foot. And luckily, it wasn't picked, and it was honestly a pretty good throw, pretty good catch. So I want to see a little bit more. I think it is slightly an outlier for this team. I think this offensive line is a little bit worse than what they've been showing because, again, they haven't not been giving up that many sacks. And a lot of it is the screen passes that Kyle Shanahan has done. So scheme has been pretty good as well. I'm just really, again, I don't want to overlook this Falcons game, but Chris Jones, they like to move him. They like to get him to the outside. Like they like to line him up outside as well. I am kind of scared for that matchup.
Yep, instantly I was thinking about Chris Jones when I was talking about this offensive line. Like I had Chris Jones in the back of my mind thinking about that Kansas City game in the Super Bowl, how he was just dominating that, and even Frank Clark, like how just they were dominating that 49ers offensive line. And I definitely agree with you. Jalen Moore, if you see a lot of the guys that he gets beat are just pure speed rushers that just get to the edge and that just, that just run right by him in a sense, and he's just too late to react. And that just you saw in the preseason this year. And that's a lot of the time where he gets beat. It's not necessarily by straight power or bull rusher. He gets beat a lot of the times by the speedy edge rushers that can just go around Jalen Moore. But we'll see, right? We saw this offensive line; they haven't been doing too bad, and there's a lot of new faces on this offensive line. So surprisingly, this
Yeah.
offensive line, even with those new faces, has been able to hold up. And it's funny now they're doing like this little rotation with Brunskill and Spencer Burford, and there's been a
Yeah.
little bit of a rotation which has been interesting. And so far it's been working pretty well for the 49ers, and it's been working in their favor, but we'll see how this offensive line holds up. It's definitely they're definitely going to be facing some more tougher opponents and defensive lines as the season progresses.
So I don't think Trent Williams comes back for that Chargers game because isn't that week 9 or week 8? Don't they have a bye week right before it or after it? I
Week,
don't.
I think
I
it's week 9 where they have the bye week. Yeah,
Okay.
week 9.
So is it before then we have a bye before we play the Chargers then? Because it's Chiefs. No, it's Chiefs. No, it's Chiefs, Rams, and then bye week and Chargers, right? So
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah.
So I think Trent Williams, if you rush him back, should be back for that Chargers game, which they don't have Joey Bosa, I don't believe anymore, but they do still have Khalil Mack, which is still really good. So I want him back for that game. I am a little bit scared, like you said. So we'll see what happens with that. But moving on, how confident are you that the 49ers will be able to keep up with, like, we're talking about the Chiefs, and this is kind of, we'll get to some of the Falcons' keys later. But there's bigger, I guess, bigger, like the old saying goes, there's bigger fish to fry. And so how confident are you that they're going to be able to keep up the 49ers offense with higher scoring quarterbacks like the Bills? I mean, Josh Allen throwing it 60 times a game. That offense is really good. Patrick Mahomes, pretty good as well. That offense is clicking. So how confident are you that the 49ers offense can keep up with those teams if the defense fails? Because there are going to be those type of games, especially during the playoffs.
Yeah, it's honestly gonna be tough, right? And that's the thing. That's the biggest what if with this team. That's the biggest question mark with this team. There's a lot of cans on this offense. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of like, can Jimmy Garoppolo do this? Can the offense do this? Can Kyle Shanahan call good plays? Can he have a good game plan? There are a lot of what ifs and cans when it comes to playing these upper echelon offenses, because you could beat a team like the Panthers or like potentially the Falcons if your offense, like with like putting up 20 points, or whatever the Niners did against those teams. But against a team like the Chargers and like the Chiefs, it's going to be hard because no matter how great your
Yeah.
defense is, those guys are still putting up points. Like they just are, because that's just how talented either their quarterback situation is or the weapons that they have. They're going to be able to put up points. So it's all up to the offense of, can they do their part? Can the offense do their part? Can the offense put up enough points to go up against and go toe to toe with some of these elite offenses in the league? And that's something we'll find out in these Chiefs, Chargers, and games where you're going up against upper echelon offenses. And that's the thing, right? If we all think as Niners fans, we still believe it. A lot of Niners fans still believe that this team is a Super Bowl contender. And if you hypothetically make it to the Super Bowl, you're going up against a lot of elite offenses. You're probably going up against the Buffalo Bills team or the Chiefs
Ravens.
again, right? Like you're going up against
Yeah.
high-powered elite offenses that are hard to stop. No, even with that great defense, you're still gonna have to put up points, and that's the thing. That's like the biggest what if. Going back to my point, is that can they do those things? And that's the thing. If they can do those things, the Niners can be successful. It's just if they aren't able to do those things, then you're not going to be able to go toe to toe with some of the elite offenses in the league. But that's the thing. The key for the 49ers, honestly, is sustaining long drives, getting into rhythm, running the football effectively, and then Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo in certain games has to play a little bit better,
Mhm.
like not too much, but a little bit better than he already is. And then obviously we need you not to make crucial mistakes in crucial parts of the game. Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm talking to Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo, if he can limit those mistakes, especially in crucial parts of certain games, like that Dallas game last year, we should have blown out Dallas. We should have straight up. But then Jimmy Garoppolo throws that interception late in the game. Dallas has another chance. You're like, okay, like Jimmy Garoppolo, you kind of kept him in the game. So Jimmy Garoppolo, if he can do what he's asked, which he was doing the last 2 weeks, and he can limit those crucial mistakes in crucial parts of the game and just be a good game manager, and Kyle can have a good game, which I think he will, and call a good game. It just can Jimmy Garoppolo. If he can do that, and this defense does their part, which they have been doing for the last couple of weeks, I think this team will be successful. There are just a lot of question marks on this offense. There just is, right? And Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of it is just Jimmy Garoppolo and how well he does. So if Jimmy Garoppolo can do his thing, I think we'll be all right. Now, will we win all of those games? I don't know, but if Jimmy Garoppolo can do his thing and he could be a good game manager, I think we have a much better chance. But it's it's a big what if with Jimmy G, and that's the thing with Trey Lance. I was excited because I was like, "Oh, Trey
Yeah.
Lance, Patrick Mahomes, Levi Stadium. This is the matchup. Like this is the matchup we've all been looking forward to, and
Yeah.
now we don't get to see that. And like week 7, like that's a great time for Trey Lance to settle in. He's gotten used to this offense. He's seen what NFL defenses look like, at least a glimpse of what NFL defenses look like. And this is like his break now he's gonna start to
Yeah.
break out and do his thing, and now he's injured, obviously, so we don't get a chance to see that. But it's definitely going to be hard. But it just honestly, it's the offense. It's a lot of what ifs and a lot of can this offense do their part, and if they can, I think they have chance. I think they have a chance. But it's just the offense. It's just simply what this offense can do. I trust this defense completely. But the offense has to do their part in order to win these particular football games. So it's just up to the offense.
Yeah, and if you look at some of like the Ravens, for example, and I know we're not going to be playing them this year, and everyone wants to bring up that Chiefs game, but the Ravens, like let's say you do face them in the Super Bowl, like you said, that team, if you look at what they were doing with the Bills, now that defense for the Ravens hasn't been that great this year, but you have to go toe to toe. You have to have a quarterback that can just that can go toe to toe with Josh Allen. You have to game plan perfect for those type of teams. I mean, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens. Like you have to have a difference maker, some difference maker on that offensive end. And yes, I think it was Deebo Samuel for the 49ers last year, but I don't know if we've really found it so far. And we haven't really faced good enough teams, like you said, to actually test, oh, do we have a difference maker that can really make a difference? So I don't know. And against the Chiefs, I go back to the last Monday night game against the Raiders. That Chiefs offense was rolling, and they let the Raiders come back. Quarters probably 2 to 3. That Chiefs offense really got going, and it's like, how do you stop that? It's really hard, no matter how good of a defense you are. So you have to have some type of difference maker. I don't know if they can do that. And again, one more thing before I'm done with this is Kyle Shanahan, biggest moments. He hasn't shown his creativity. He's definitely shown a little bit of one-dimensional thinking. So You're muted. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Like it's gonna be fun though. It's definitely gonna be fun playing the Chargers. Like it's definitely going to be a fun matchup. But we'll see. That's the game I'm looking forward to. Like I can't wait till the Falcons week is over. Sunday comes around and we play the Chiefs. I'm saying this right now. All I pray is Jimmy Garoppolo, please don't get hurt because I really don't want to see a game. Even though I wouldn't mind seeing Purdy, like I wouldn't want to see Purdy versus Mahomes. Like that probably would be a game that we would lose only because Purdy, he's young but I'm going into hypotheticals at this point. But just Jimmy,
Yeah.
please don't get hurt against the Falcons. Like I as much as I don't really think we're gonna beat Kansas City, I'm not really like betting on it, but please just don't get hurt against the Falcons because if you miss that Kansas City game or you miss a longer period of time, like that'll hurt this football team.
Yeah. And I think one thing, real quick on Jimmy Garoppolo that I forgot to say earlier on is I feel like he is playing with like a little bit more. I don't care as much. Like he is playing a little bit more loose. He has nothing to lose. And he's out. He definitely has, I think, a different mindset in that this year and last year. Well, last year and this year, but last year he got injured, and so maybe, I mean, I don't know. Let's, like you said, let's hope he stays healthy because yeah, it's gonna be bad. So but let's get to keys for the 40 for hold on. 49ers versus Falcons. It's at Falcons Stadium. We never actually traveled back home. I believe didn't Nick Bosa, because I thought I heard something that Kyle Shanahan said that Nick Bosa in his presser was going to travel back home. Isn't that right?
I have no idea, to be completely honest with you. I know the team is in, I think, Virginia right now, West Virginia, and then they have to travel down to Atlanta. But I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea where Nick Bosa is at right now. I have no idea where is his status and where he's located right now.
Yeah. I did I hear that? I might have heard that. I don't know. But what are your keys to the 49ers versus Falcons game? And Grandizer brings up a good point. We'll get to this right after the keys. Favored by 5.5 points, the 49ers are over under 44.5. I had 43 points here, so he was getting a slightly different stat. But what are your keys for this game?
Offensively, get into rhythm early, whether that might be throwing the football with Jimmy G, getting some quick slants in, getting him warmed up, getting him loose a little bit. But it's just like kind of like every Niners game with Jimmy Garoppolo. Play good defense, run the football effectively, get into rhythm early, put up as many points as you can early, and Jimmy Garoppolo, just do your thing. Continue not to make mistakes. It's another Falcons team that doesn't have the greatest defense. Try not to throw, make mistakes, throw interceptions in crucial parts of the game, and just be a good game manager, Jimmy. And if Jimmy can be a good game manager, this offense can get into a rhythm early, whether it might be passing the football or running the football, and this defense continues to play at the high level that it's been playing at. I see Niners end up with a W, but it's kind of like with every Niners game, right? Simple recipe to success: run the football, don't make too many mistakes offensively. Defense does their thing, and a lot of times we win those games, especially against teams that are struggling like the Atlanta Falcons right now. But it definitely, here's what I will say: compared to the Panthers game, this Falcons team has been there, right? Like they haven't lost that many games where they've gotten blown out. They've been competitive. They just lost to the Buccaneers 15-23. They lost to LA. They almost beat LA, right? They're competitive, right? So this
Mhm.
Falcons team, they're a competitive football team. They're not always able to close it out and close out games. So this Falcons team, I do think the Niners do win, and I know they're expected to win, but this Falcons team definitely has been fighting, and they definitely have shown better than their record says they are.
Yeah, that's true. I think D line is gonna have I think a field day. I mean, the offensive line for the Falcons gave up 5 sacks last week, and like I brought up the stat, last week a 31% pressure rate, which basically, I mean, that's every three, a little more times that you drop back, you're getting pressure in your face, and it's been higher this season. So that offensive line, I think, should be kind of destroyed. I think the 49ers defensive line should eat. And then the Panthers were able for a good part of that game to take out Deebo Samuel. I mean, AJ Terrell for the Falcons, like AJ Terrell, you want to say that he could too, because he had a pretty good season last year, but he hasn't been doing that good this year. I mean, I believe he has a passer rating over 120 or something like that, and he also gave up over 100 yards last week. He gave up 6 catches or something. So that's tough. I mean, I really don't see. I don't see a place where the Falcons could actually get an advantage on. I really don't. And then, I mean, you talk about their top receiver, Drake London. I mean, Charvarius Ward should be there with him every step. You saw the Panthers, I guess, number 1 receiver. I don't really know if he is anymore, but Robbie Anderson get completely taken out of that game by Charvarius Ward. He had 1 catch. So, I mean, if you can do all of those things, like you said, I just don't see a I don't see a I don't see a, a a possibility that the Falcons win this game. So I'm gonna say, I mean, your quick predictions for this game. I'm gonna say it's over 44 points. I'm gonna say 27 to. Well, ooh, this is interesting. 27. I'm gonna say 27-14. So actually under. I'm gonna do under 43 points.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really do betting, so I don't know like this over and under 4.5. Like I'm not really good with like the betting and like all that
Yeah,
stuff personally because I
I don't
haven't
either.
bet before. But yeah, I know. I just have to, both of us are too young for that. But I think the Niners potentially could have another 30-point game. I think the Niners
Yeah,
definitely, I think they're expected to win and they should get the job done. And this Niners team really, what sucks is that they really could have been 6-0 up to this point, but they're not because they made crucial
yeah,
mistakes in certain games, penalties, offense struggling. Like this Niners team could be undefeated right now, just like the Eagles. I know your brother is probably your brother's probably on cloud 9 this season. Like him and all the Philadelphia Eagles fans, they're on cloud 9 this year
yeah.
with the Eagles. He probably has been rubbing it in. He's probably a little bit. He's probably been like
One of them has. That's the more I would say delusional fan that thinks they're going to the Super Bowl, which they haven't really had a
Super
10 this
Bowl.
season. I have my questions on them. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, but one of them definitely they have questions for sure.
Yeah, I think they're good, but are they the best team in the NFL?
No,
No.
no.
No. Like they ain't the best team in the NFL. I would pick the Chiefs, the Bills. Like if I had to give you a top 5 NFL teams right now, like I would probably say the Bills, the the Chiefs, right? Not in any particular order, right? Bills, Chiefs, Ravens are up
Ravens.
there. Ravens are up there. Eagles are in the top 5, but I don't know if they're like top 3. The Ravens are up there, and then last one, like I mean, there's been a lot
Well,
of
all of those are in the AFC. Like I think they're going to probably get first in the NFC.
yeah,
I don't. I mean, it's so weak this year, man. It
the
you look
NFC,
around.
yeah,
It's gotten weaker and weaker because like we said that like a few years ago, like even in 2019 it was still pretty weak, the NFC, but now it's just gotten weaker. Like there might not even be like a 12-win team this year in the NFC, which is crazy to think because you look at all the divisions except the Eagles, 12-win team except the Eagles. So yeah, that's crazy to think for sure. Real quick score prediction though.
I'll go 30. No, that's too high. That's too high. Like that's too high of a number. I'll go
Yeah.
28-21. I think the Niners win it by a touchdown. I think it will be a competitive football game, but I think the Niners get the W.
Yeah, that I think the only reason why I'd say over under in the 44.5 or whatever is that I don't see like even last week when it was 37-15, that's only 52 points. That's 8 points over, which is quite a bit, but it's like I don't think they can put up that offensive. I don't think they will put up that offensive performance again. On the road, you're tired. They're going to be a little bit slower. So I'd have to agree with you on that one. Brandizer, real quick 49ers 23, Falcons 16, player of the game, Jeff Wilson. That's another thing. Like, that's a key that I think Kyle Shanahan definitely proved was the running backs. Like, he took pressure off of Jeff Wilson and put in Tevin Coleman, which he didn't do bad. And so he definitely saved Jeff Wilson for the end of games, and especially against better teams, that's going to be huge later on in the game. How healthy are your running backs' legs? And I think Kyle Shanahan needs to stick to that. We're going to use some of our other running backs early in the game so we can keep our main one fresh for later in the game. Let's hope he sticks with that game plan the whole year. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Like the season's gonna be fun, right? Like
Yeah.
as much as it sucks with Trey going hurt, and my excitement level is definitely dropped. I'm still excited, right? Because this team still with Jimmy Garoppolo can still be a contender and can still be a playoff team, hopefully, and that can still make a deep run in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. Can you imagine if the Niners play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game this year?
Man, I want to see that so bad because I feel like
Like,
our
okay? Here's the here's what I ask you though. Are you sure you want to see that? Because if the Niners end up losing, like you already know your brothers are gonna be your brothers are gonna be there. Like your brothers are gonna be talking
yeah,
some smack, at least some smack. Like it's just an older brother thing to do.
yeah. I don't know, man. I want to see it just because I think we could beat that team. I really do. But I mean, maybe that's just the competitive side in me. But yeah, everyone, this has been a lot of fun. Clap it up for Amin. I'm really sorry for the technical difficulties. There was definitely a time in the show where I didn't really know if I should keep going. So thank you everyone for watching. Amin, it's been a pleasure, man, once again for coming on.
Pleasure being on with you. Appreciate Grandizer 12 for tuning into the chat and David McNew. Appreciate being on with you, Ben. It's always a pleasure. We've been doing this, swapping back and forth with channels and different things like
Yeah,
that. And I've always said that I said this a couple of weeks ago when I was on your show last. I still remember the first show we did. Like our
yeah,
voices were really different. We didn't have we didn't have the following or nothing like that, and we were just two kids. I hit you up on the email. You said
yeah,
yeah. I did my first show like in my parents' bedroom with like the lights not too high. Like it's
yeah.
definitely. And now we're both high schoolers and things like that. But definitely, it's always fun doing a show with you, man.
Yeah. Real quick before you two, definitely crazy times for sure. I can't believe it's been a year and a half now, but good job, guys. Have a great week and good luck to your team this weekend. We'll be on the lookout for your stream tomorrow, Ben. Yes, thank you. Who do the Dolphins, because he's a Dolphins fan, who do they play, I believe, next this week? I think it was, wait, do they have a bye this week? I think
No,
so.
they don't have a bye. Skylar Thompson's the starting quarterback this week, next upcoming week.
That's the worst.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
that team is, I think, a big pretender team as well because whenever Tua can come back,
It's
I
just
don't
all
know.
on Tua, man. Like Tua gets they're playing the Vikings. Ugh.
Yeah,
With Skylar Thompson, that's rough. Yeah.
yeah. Oof, Skylar Thompson. I never even heard of him. Wait, Teddy Bridgewater went out as well. That's rough.
Yeah, Teddy B. He's good. He's a solid backup, but he's just not always able to stay on the field, man. Like
Yeah,
Teddy.
very rarely in his career. I'm rooting for that team, so wherever they go, uh, definitely first year head coach. If they can make the playoffs, that would be a great start for them for
Yep,
sure.
that would be. That would be. I'm rooting for Mike McDaniel. I'm rooting for your team, Grandizer. I hope your team is successful this year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, everyone, this has been a great Teddy Dog Walk. great stream. Clap it up for Amin. We'll see you tomorrow. Go subscribe to Amin. His handles are in the description. So if you haven't already, just go give him a follow there. Check out his videos, which I think. Do you have anything coming out like soon, or what do you have coming out?
Man, school is rough, man. Like
It is.
I've been going on other people's channels more than I've been going on my channel. Like it's
Yeah.
rough. And this is the thing, like I do my shows, like I do a show on Monday and like regularly, and then like the whole rest of the week goes by and I have like tests and assignments and homework, and
Yeah.
it's so hard like getting in a show now with like high school. It's difficult. It's difficult. And I said this earlier. I said this a couple hours ago. I joked around. I was like, high school is like Nick Bosa. It's like another level. All right, it's another level. Like it's difficult. All right, with the assignments and the homeworks, they don't stop. But I don't got anything coming up, but I'm gonna try to get the streams in as much as
Yeah.
I can. I'm gonna try to get the content out. But this is the thing, this Niners community has a lot of great content creators, right? We have Jesse Naylor, we have a lot of great 49ers content creators out there. So there's also a bunch of other Niners fans that a lot of us have the privilege of watching. So this not we have a great Niner community of YouTube content creators.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how I've been doing it the last few weeks. There's definitely been, let me just say, my mom won't be happy, but there's definitely been a few 2 to 3 o'clock nights for me. So just saying, we'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, and then probably next week, Wednesday, and probably most of the time I'll be on Wednesday. So yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow.